I've lived through Jerry John Rawlings days a bit and all the other leaders after that. And I've lived through the business environment, recently, or I would say in the last 10 years, and also lived through the business environment in Canada. And yes, starting a business or sustaining a business in Ghana, in Africa, is difficult, challenging, but also comes with a lot of networking and some few tricks. You should have a good strategy in place. With the regulations, some of the regulations, nobody follows it or nobody abides by it. But if you are not in the good books of the institution, then they will follow it against you. When we were young, when it rains, we could see gold spot nuggets here and there shining. Our fathers, grandfathers would tell us that those are gold and we will grab them. So anytime it rains, we go in there to grab them. So there has been that transfer of knowledge. And in Africa, that has been our history. We won't write our knowledge in books, but we will transfer it through songs, stories, and so we are mastery in that. We can't take it away from the African. So you see that now they begin to transform the business into a different area, different form that has no name. In the books, it has no name. So, but we will classify all of them as artisanal. But you see that they've advanced beyond artisanal, and they are even closer to the large scale mines because they have their trucks. My advice to the mining graduates or the professionals that are coming up is that you need to firstly strategize and strategically position yourself as a global graduate. You need to be able to fit. You must position yourself as a global graduate. So if you are only technically biased and not technologically biased, then you are being ruled out of the competition. Get your initial degree, but ensure that when Sierra Leone, Liberia, Congo, they need mining professionals and you get the opportunity, you can fit a role.
All right. So, Bright, maybe can you tell me more about? I know that you are from Ghana originally. How did you how did you become a mining engineer in Ghana? What was the process, and how did you end up in Canada?
Okay, thank you very much. Always nice to be on your platform. Yes, so I'm a mining engineer, as you rightly said. Um, I started my education somewhere in Accra, the capital city of Ghana. School in the near the sea, and fortunately or unfortunately, I got a school in the senior high school. So in Ghana, after your junior high school, you go to senior high school. So I went to a senior secondary school by then, to Okwapimai School. That's what we call it. And I read agriculture or agri science. So one of these career, um, I would say, career programs, somebody mentioned engineering and I got interested. Initially, I wanted to be a veterinary officer. And then I got interested to become an engineer. But then I had a challenge that you need to have mathematics. So one of the core programs or courses that you need to study is elective mathematics or hard maths. But I didn't do elective mathematics. So then I have to, after completing my school in somewhere August, I have to stay behind in the school, stay with one of my mentors who was a teacher by then, Mr. Timo. I stayed with him and I learned the mathematics on my own for 2.5 months and wrote the exams. I had a good pass, and then I was able to choose chemical engineering first at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. But I didn't get the option. Maybe the cutoff grade, I didn't meet it. So they gave me my second choice of mine engineering.
Mhm.
That's where I ended up with mine engineering at Takwa. So those days, the university in Takwa was a college under the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. So gladly my batch are the last batch, or we were the last batch of that college until the university became a fully fledged university. So after that, I enjoyed the mining program very much and made a lot of good strikes whilst there. Then I had an opportunity to work with an explosive company. Um, they've changed their names from African Explosive Limited to AEL Mining Services. Now they are AECI. I work with them. That's why I learned a lot about explosives and blasting technology and engineering. And because we did total solution blasting. Then I was curious to know why we can pump explosive in upholes. Sorry, how we can pump explosives into upholes. I was just wondering, how is it? Would explosive drop? Do they put some chemicals in it, or do they put some elements in it? So my curiosity, I decided to change off to underground mine just to observe that. And my first time in underground, when I was working, so I did attachment underground though, but when I changed up, the first place I went when I visited underground was the charging front production. I just went there. I said, I want to know, how do you guys pump? So I went there, and the first question I asked them, how do you guys get explosive up there and it doesn't drop? So after getting my answers, I was just excited. And I said, okay, this is the reason I came underground. So now what's next? So after the underground with King Ross, I was with African Underground Mining Services, now UMA, with King Ross Mine in Ghana. Then I was also curious about the environment. So I took a study leave from the company to Wales to study environmental monitoring and analysis, just like environmental geochemistry, sort of, but inorganic geochemistry. I enjoyed Wales, North Wales, South Wales, Mid Wales, traveled all over the place. It was a field practical program. We even had a 5-day tour in Ireland, Silver Mines village. So after that, I came back to the mines. Then I realized I was being underutilized in the mines. Then I retired um, to the university to be a lecturer. So whilst at the university, I then had the opportunity to um, do my PhD in mining options studies. So I took the opportunity, and it was no other place than Laurentian University in Canada. And that's why I ended up in Canada. And um, currently, I'm also in Ghana. Suppose so the family is based in Canada,
Mhm.
and I'm in Ghana lecturing as a senior lecturer in the University of Mines and Technology. Yes.
So, and how did you make it to Wales? Did you have to pay out of the pocket, or did you have to apply for the grants? And same question regarding PhD.
Yeah, that's a good question. So my journey has been full of God's grace and a lot of blessings. So upon getting to the university in Ghana, I got a 4-year scholarship by merit from those days it was Space Phone, Ariba, now MTN. So I got a full scholarship to study. Again, I got a similar scholarship for the Wales through the Commonwealth Shared Scholarship. So the Commonwealth Commission pays the tuition and the university pays my residence or my maintenance fee. So I got full scholarship to study in Wales. And for PhD 2 years, I got a good funding, the Ontario Trillium Scholarship. I think it was only one slot or two slot for the school,
Mm-hmm.
and I got it. And I should also say that the Commonwealth Scholarship too was only one slot for the school. So I was just graciously blessed to have that. And again, had that scholarship for the PhD as well. Yeah, and while doing the PhD, I also had a good funding from my supervisor to study at the University of Alberta. Um, applied citation in no citation in applied geostatistics.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So that was and has been the journey. Yes.
And what do you think is the difference of mining sector in Ghana compared to other African countries? What kind of like challenges and opportunities studying in Ghana bring?
I think I can only say much about other African countries because of not much engage in most of the African countries, apart from some few ones that I've visited,
Mm-hmm.
and also conversations with my students that work in the African countries. But in terms of Ghana, I would say that I have involved myself in almost all the large scale mines in the country, except the recent ones in the north, which I haven't been there. And my experience and my knowledge is that the Ghanaian mines are well developed because in the region, the mining education or the mining engineering education with it related supporting fields like the geological engineering, the surveying, the mineral, the metallurgies, here have always been produced by the University of Mines and Technology. Though the university is new, it's had an old history since 1952.
Mm-hmm.
So it has traveled through the technical colleges under the university and became a fully fledged. So it has produced several mining professionals. So these mining professionals often work in these mining companies all over Africa. So
From
most
Ghana.
of them, yes, from Ghana, that's right. So most of the mining professionals all over Africa have one way or the other been trained by mining professionals from Ghana. So also our regulation is very robust. So most of these mining companies all over Africa, especially the West Africa, they've all been um, transferring our regulation into their jurisdiction or their country. And that has been the norm until recently when these other African countries, when they become very competent in the job, then the mining engineers or professionals from Ghana leave the position for them to take over. Then they move to other areas. Some return to Ghana, some also move to other countries. So that has been how it is here. So in terms of competency, in terms of technologies, in terms of trends, you know, it's all Ghana that leads most of this stuff, mining. Yes, I know South Africa is very high, and they also have a long history.
Mm-hmm.
So
But would you
on
say
the
that there is a
continent,
most migration from African countries for the mining sector and maybe for just general education goes to Ghana or it goes to other countries as well?
yes, there has been those migration. There are a lot of mining professionals that have moved from all over Africa to Ghana to learn
Mm-hmm.
in the university. I have taught people from Kenya. I've taught people from Cote d'Ivoire, from Burkina Faso,
Mm-hmm.
from Liberia. Even currently, we have some Chinese or Japanese students among the team. And so people move. We have Nigerians that come to Ghana to study, and we have mining companies that sponsor their workers to study. Currently, we still have a set of people in Ghana that are studying so they can go back and help their country. So that has been the trend, yes. And I can say that the South Africans do not move that much.
Oh, really? So
Yes,
you don't get, you mean you don't get migration from South Africa?
yes. That's my
And do people go to South Africa for education or?
yes, people do go. I have most of my juniors, my seniors, my mates that have been there. Yes, people do, but they go there, especially from Ghana, they go there from their second degree, maybe masters or PhD. Yes.
You
And
know, when I was preparing for our conversation, like I watched a lot of like videos about even Americans moving to Ghana, and they were saying that there is a like a class divide in Ghana. So how easy it is, and first of all, is it true? Like, is there any class divide? Like people, let's say, some people from certain class go to universities, let's say, like yourself, and like become professionals, but others can't do that. I guess the question is how easy it is if you're just like a kid from Ghana to make it to university and to achieve success like yourself.
I think I will tend to um, differ from that notice or that um, observation. Yes, so the Ghanaian education from time immemorial to date, the public universities are publicly funded, meaning that the government supports the public universities financially. So students pay, as it is here, they pay, natives pay relatively, low amount of fees compared to their expats or the international students. So the university academic fees often cut across. They almost are the same for every university. So if you are in the University of Mines and your fee is X amount, the same X amount is the equivalent in a university, let's say Kwame Nkrumah University or University of Ghana. It's the same equivalent. So financials do not differentiate or cannot be used to clarify or categorize those who goes to do mining and those who do not go to do mining. The trend has been that those who know about mining tend to advise their kids, siblings, or the younger generation within their reach or environment to do mining. So to say, if I'm working in the mines, I know the prospect in the mines. So I want to advise anybody who comes to me that you know what, choose mining over any other program. So the skewness of those who study mining were only particular to those who have the information that mining will make it. Yes, I was convinced by one of my senior brothers and friend who was already studying mechanical engineering in then the West University College under the KNUST, Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. So he said, I told him I want to do something related to physics and chemistry because I love those two. Then he said, okay, then you must do a course called mining engineering. So it means that if I had spoken with somebody else, well, I did spoke with another person and he advised me to choose chemical engineering because it was more chemistry biased. So basically in the past, it has been the trend has been who advises you or who gives you information, and that has been how it is. But finances, no, it's the cost of education is almost the same in every university.
But how does the cost of education compare to the to income, I guess, of population? Like, is it affordable? Like to any working family?
I think relatively, it's I would say it's affordable
Mhm.
relatively, and I'm counting it from the past. In the old, in the past years when we were in schools in the 2000s, and also what we had in the early 90s,
Mhm.
So basically, the the academic fee is actually determined by the student leadership together with the university authorities. So the student leadership calls the shots. If the academic fee is too much, they are able to stand their grounds and shoot it down. So basically, that's how it is. But I wasn't fortunate when I was entering the university. There was no money because myself and my senior brother were entering into tertiary education at the same time, and my father couldn't afford both. So he has to choose between, or I would say he has to, my brother, senior brother must go first before I do. But my mother said, no, he will not allow me to stay in the house because I did very well in the senior high school examination. So I got somebody who paid my initial admission fees. Before later, the scholarship came in the second semester of the university. So we have several other people who are also or who fell into that same category. I have a friend
Mhm.
whose father passed, and so he couldn't enter into the university. He has to choose the teacher training colleges because the fees are low, and he will be fed whilst in school, be given accommodation whilst in school. So then it will support him. So I would say, yes, even though the fees may be relatively low, they are still that low of a class. And even up to now, we still have people who, I have students who could not even pay some basic, things that they need to study. And sometimes it's disheartening, but that's how the profile of the classes of, people are in the society. Yes.
Do you know who Maget Wade is?
Come again?
Do you know who Maget Wade is? She's a
No.
she's a pretty famous entrepreneur, very successful entrepreneur from Senegal, and she was talking about. She's kind of like a very like she tries to bring capital to Africa, and she was talking about that one of the economists, I think his name is like George Eati, he was talking about pre-colonial market in Africa, and he was talking about how pre-colonially Africa basically had practiced free market, was decentralized governance. So, and she was actually talking about that the reason why a lot of like African countries are poor is not because of colonialism, but because of overregulation. And one of the um, challenges, let's say, that she's encountered, she has a like a company in the U.S. and she has a company in Senegal, and she says that it took her 2 years just to open the company, because it's very hard to do business. So I guess the question is how, what do you think about it, and how easy it is to do business in Ghana? I know that like before like Jerry Rowling
Yeah, you're right.
became like a president, right?
Mhm.
There were way more issues in Ghana than it is now. How did it change, and how easy it is to for people to start a company in Ghana and start even like mining business in Ghana if you are from Ghana already?
Yeah, I think I tend to share with that ideology and that observation as well. I've lived through Jerry John Rawlings days a bit and all the other leaders after that. And I've lived through the business environment, recently, or I would say in the last 10 years, and also lived through the business environment in Canada.
Mhm.
And yes, starting a business or sustaining a business in Ghana, in Africa, is difficult, challenging, but also comes with a lot of networking and some few tricks.
Mhm.
And usually there is not a lay down format, you know, and it makes it very innovative because if you are very innovative, you win.
Mhm.
If you are highly competent and known, you also win. And some of the few challenges are sometimes when you are highly competent but you don't win, and therefore there is no institution that can speak on your behalf, and that makes it challenging. So starting a business, maintaining a business, yes, it's very challenging, but it's also very easy in Africa, Ghana, also, especially than in Canada, because the Canadian market is widely closed. Ghana, Africa is open,
Mhm.
and therefore you need the energy you put in, the energy you put in to get your business going in Africa and Ghana is very easy
Right.
than in Canada. So I want to say, for instance, if you want to register a business, it's easy in Canada. It's also easy in Ghana. But now, if you want to put your foot into the business, that's where you have the challenges. You can navigate yourself through in Ghana if you have time. It requires you to have a lot of time, a lot of networks. It's very challenging. But in Canada, if you are a foreigner, it's very difficult. But sometimes I may put myself also as a foreigner in Africa and Ghana. And I will say that it will be difficult for them because
Mhm.
you don't know how things work over there. So I may be saying it's difficult here, but a Canadian will also say it's very easy here because obviously each person knows the system that they came from, so they can speak relatively in that form. Yes. So I share with that observation. However, I always say that um, if you are innovative in Africa, so if I mean innovation, it's not always about technology, but you
Mhm.
can be innovative in the way you do your things, and you'll be able to have a sustained business. Yes.
Do you mean like innovative in terms of your approach to business or in terms of like people that you connect with? I know that there are a lot of connections also have to be done, let's say, to do business in Liberia. However, let's say Liberia is lower on easy to do business index than Ghana.
Yes.
So there are discrepancies there, I guess. What are the tips do you think you can give to do business in Ghana and
Yeah.
develop
So
and develop,
and develop. That's right.
local business, not only not only just create a business but develop and have a successful business locally, rather than just people leave, let's say, and that's it.
Yeah, I think in particularly, right, if I say innovative, I also want to, in addition to what you've said, to also mean that you should have a good strategy in place. With the regulations, some of the regulations, nobody follows it or
Mhm.
nobody abides by it. But if you are not in the good books of the institution, then they will follow it against you. So you need to be strategic. We promote local content where we believe that the indigenes or the Ghanaian must own part of the business, or there are some business or tax or activities by the mining companies that can be managed by the Ghanaian. So we want the Ghanaian to handle those smaller type of businesses.
Mhm.
So that's the local content form. However, even though we have the local content, some institutions, even in the mines, have created community content. So they also try to localize the local content. So you may not come from a mining community, let's say Takwa, and the mining company there requires a job that must be done. He prefers somebody from the community. So you see that people collaborate with community members. Some bring in community business personnel into their business environment just so they can have that front. And obviously, I've observed that in Canada as well. But in Canada, it's well formalized and structured. In Ghana, in Africa, you don't see that structure. It's just the one with the loud mouth. That's how I always classify it. The one with the loud mouth will always win, or the one with the network in the mind, and also the community will also always win. In Canada, sometimes they believe in sharing, where 6 companies will come together, maybe 2 or 3 international companies and 3 First Nations companies. They will come together and they will share the business among themselves. In Ghana, it doesn't work that way. The reason is that many people feel entitled to whatever is in their environment. They grew in the environment, they've spent almost 30 years, 40 years in the environment. So they feel that that business is actually theirs, though it happens in other countries as well, even in Canada here. But the way they approach it, they don't approach it in the form of having the regulation in mind. They don't approach it in the form of using the regulation to claim what is within theirs. There are avenues where the regulation allows them to have that um, ownership, but most people don't know and they don't want to go through that. And therefore, the mining companies, for them to have peace, they have to also accept the way they come in or the way they approach things. They cannot be so strict on the regulation. And therefore, they get their peace. The guys also get their peace and they move on. But then when there is a new person that wants to come in, and then that creates that kind of friction and that kind of instabilities. And you can see some of them happening, in Ghana if you've been following the news. So those strategies and the way we do things is such that you need to understand, deal with a localized person. Even the localized person will also have to deal with a community person, and then things flow. So for me, it's not well formalized. So an investor who wants to move into that trajectory of business would have a lot of challenges because that's not the norm, or that's not how he's been doing things. That's not, he has read the regulation that this is how it's supposed to be, but it doesn't work that way down there. So it's a real challenge. That's why I share with that observation.
How much local talent, if we talk about like mining engineers, like professional talent, exist in Ghana? Is it fairly easy to find professionals for your company?
I will say yes, it's very, very easy. Ghana has a lot of talent, a lot of professionals, but the challenge in our mining industry is that every mine has got its own pedigree. They
Mhm.
have a history of doing things. And sometimes the mining engineer is highly skilled to one pedigree, and therefore it's difficult to move into another area of competency. So, for instance, the mining engineer has been a mining engineer on one mine. He's been doing mine planning and design.
Mhm.
Now he moves to a different company, or he loses his job. Another company comes in, want to engage him. The company is using a different software. They don't want to engage this guy because they believe he wasn't using that software when he was a mine planning and designer. He was a mine planner. So they believe he cannot do the job. Even some of the mining professionals sometimes also believe that they cannot do the job.
Mhm.
And so they tend to then not be favorites for such job. So it makes the stream of professionals in the system is wide, is good.
Mhm.
However, trying to get who knows that particular thing to support is not there. And two, sometimes the person knows what he knows his stuff. He doesn't know the software, but is also very non-ethical. It's actually ethical for him to declare that he knows, let's say, 20%. But when he goes on that tangent, it may be a disadvantage to the company. So he tends to say, yes, he's okay with the software. And now you engage him. You don't have plan that, okay, let me engage him 3 months, train him before I put him to work. So you engage him and you realize that, oh, he knows 20%. He needed maybe 60% for him to function well. But that declaration was, hidden, and therefore um, good recruiters are able to identify that to support the new professional and also the mining company to get to that level of, I know you are good in this particular software, but you are 20% good. You are 90% good in another software, but that's not what we are using. But based on that knowledge, you could be able to translate it into the new software we are introducing. And therefore, we will give you an early appointment, 1 month training before you get to the field, so that you increase your competency in our history of doing things, before we put you to work.
Mhm.
So that's it. And again, the mining professionals, because we are, I'm not talking about only mining engineers, but all the professionals. So the technical base is very high from school, but the technological base is very low. And therefore, the university is trying to even champion that, having collaboration with most of the software
Mhm.
developers, so they can improve the technical knowledge, no, the technological knowledge of the mining or the mining professionals or students. So before they get to the industry, they have that foundation of not scared with any software, and they can easily maneuver themselves quickly into the system. Yes. So that's how I'll say. So we have a lot of professionals in the system,
Mhm.
but how to identify them, how to manage, use them becomes a challenge because most people don't have job. Those who have job too are few, and also there are people don't give, like companies. It's only these days that there is much improvement with graduate training and stuff, but in the past it wasn't there,
Mhm.
and therefore no one is interested in training any mining professional.
And how do you think
Yes.
mining industry has changed Ghana? Do you think it's kind of like the primary force that is moving the development of the country? Is there any 100% Ghanaian mining companies that basically not like companies that came like let's say from Canada or like United States or China or anything like that? Is there any companies like that?
Yes, so the mining companies have transformed Ghana significantly. Um, in terms of contributing significantly to the GDP of the country, they have also showed the populace, the Ghanaian populace, that the mining industry is an important industry. It welcomes everybody, and we can mine and mine safely. So in the past, when you talk of mining, everybody sees it as a very hectic business, very dangerous in quotes, not safe also in quotes, and is associated with disasters, incidences here and there. But the mining company came and changed the narrative that, hold on, we can mine and mine safely. We can mine and have injury free in a full year. We can have zero tolerance and maintain safety throughout the business year. So in the past, when you are choosing mining engineering, people look at you that, are you strong to do mining engineering? Because it was coded as an area that is for reserved for the few that are strong. It's an area that is reserved for the few that are brave. They go underground and ground fall. So people will choose programs outside the mining field. In my class in 2004, were only 29. Before that, they could have 15, 6, 4 in a class. That's in the 90s and 80s. Because it was noted that it wasn't safe. You have to be strong, you have to be brave. But the mining companies proved that no, we can mine and mine safely. We can secure our workers. We can make sure the workers are safe. We can also make sure that the environment is safe. And when the gold price also, Ghana is majorly gold mining. So when the gold price also increased in the 2006, 2007, 8, then there were then influx of students coming in to do mining and mining related programs. The universities also devised means of recruiting people into the mining environment and increasing the women in mining. So there were strategy. If the cutoff in selecting students is, let's say, 12, then the ladies will be shot up to 14 or 15, just to encourage women into mining. So the country in the past strategically positioned itself working with the Chamber of Mines. So the Chamber of Mines is the umbrella of the major mining companies, the association. So the government, the universities, the Chamber of Mines working together, we saw a beautiful trend that was coming up. A trend of we can mine and mine safely. A trend of mining can also be seen as a normal business, just like the banking industry, where you go to the mine and you will return home safely. We needed more high level of intelligence in the industry. So what can we do? Let's have some scholarship ventures or avenues for students, especially also those in the community. Let's involve them. So ever since 2004, 5, 6, I know the communities, the mining companies in the communities, they've been sponsoring students from the locality or from the community into the mining environment. So there has been that conscious effort to ensure that mining improves the life of the community and the country at large and everyone. So that conscious effort has been there. That's why these days, if you hear about a lot of artisanal mining and stuff, now people appreciate that if the large scale mining companies are mining safely, And they are mining with our own people. They are not bringing strange aliens from space or from, even outside Ghana. Or, some few expatriates are there, but it's our own brothers and sisters that are mining. So why can't we also form our own small scale mines and have it in mining, in tandem, or just repeat what the large scales are doing? So we have all the small scale mines in Ghana are owned by Ghanaians because the regulation entrenches that only Ghanaians must own small scale mines. In Ghana, we have two main scales of mining, the small scale mining and the large scale mining. We don't have in between. So the small scale mining is reserved for the Ghanaian, and the large scale mining for anybody at all or anyone. So far, no, I think one or two mines, large scale mines, are fully owned by Ghanaians, but they surely have their investors also from
Yeah.
other parts of the world.
Hmm.
Yes, but small scale mining fully owned by Ghanaians, and some of them are also fully funded by Ghanaians. Yes,
And you said that the primary mineral is gold in Ghana. Is there any other minerals that the focus has shifted over time, especially with the rise of rare earth minerals and things like that?
yes. So over time in the past, diamond was the preferred.
Hmm.
We had the diamond industry,
Hmm.
and when the gold price shot up, then gold over overtook the diamond, and now most of the mining companies are on gold. The diamond is relegated, though it's still being mined, but on small basis.
Hmm.
Now we also have the manganese also being mined in Ghana. And in recent times, or I would say in the past too, we had the bauxite that is also being mined, or it has been mined over several decades.
Hmm.
And recently we discovered the lithium, and we are currently developing and mining the lithium also. And there are other critical minerals that has been identified all over the country, like feldspar, mica, and carolinites, and we have salts, clay, all those are there. And these days, the communities want to be part of mining.
Hmm.
The mining communities, they want to be part of mining. They've seen what has happened in the other major mining communities. And therefore, newer communities want to be part of mining. But that strategy itself has not been fully developed to know how they come into the picture, how we involve them. So in the past, the regulation has been involving the land owners. So in Ghana, the surface rights. So the land itself belongs to an individual or a family, but the minerals in it is invested in the president. So that one belongs to the government. And anybody who lives on his land obviously have an issue when you discover gold on it or a mineral deposit on it. So you discover the mineral deposit and you tell me that the land, the surface right is mine, but the mineral under the surface of the earth is for the government. And people don't understand. Obviously, it's difficult for the communities to accept it. So you displace me from where I'm staying so you can build your mine, because the regulation is saying that I have the surface rights, the plants, the overbedding, yes, those are mine. But the raw mineral they are not mine. It's for the government. And someone believes my great 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 grandfathers have been there for more than 100 years, and you just come. So those are the dichotomies that we have, which bring a lot of challenges.
Mhm.
Yes, bring a lot of challenges, and some companies have gone into, you know, mining benefit agreements with the communities. However, some group of people in the communities also always feel like they've been dissected, or they've been relegated. They are not part of that even benefit agreement. But I always also say that the international companies can do that much, based on they are also running their business. They've
Mhm.
agreed with you that every year these are what's apart from what we give to the government, which goes through the funds, and some are given to the community for communal development. We also have our own social development agenda. We have agreed our social contract, our agreement we have with the community. However, when we are implementing it, then the community, mostly not led by the leaders, but they then come in a different form of requests. And the company tends to, they are into business. They run their financials for the year. We are not expecting to build a hospital. You say you needed a road. We did a road for you in 6 months. Now, after 6 months, you tell us that we need a clinic because you have built a clinic or hospital in another neighborhood. So therefore, why are they not also entitled to that? To me, that's not fair to the company. And also, that has not also been smartness from the community point of view. Because when you have a clean agreement with the company for social contract or for social development, if I'm them, I'll have a separate type of agreement where I can also come in and say that I need this, and that will be met. So I'm sure as the country develops all these minerals and incorporates the communities into it, there will be a time where we will strike the 80% perfection, and we'll be able to have safe mining and better mining regime in the country and also Africa elsewhere. Yeah.
But are they reclaim mine later? Like once they done mining, for example, okay, like they displace these people. Are they just leaving the mine, like leaving the hole basically, and that's it? Or they do like mine reclamation that communities can actually go back to it?
So that's another dimension of discussion in the country and elsewhere in Africa. So most mining company and as the mining business is, we tend to mine the most, graded areas or high grade areas, because we want to make money fast to pay the capitals and all those things. And we may defer a pit to come back in future years, let's say 5 years, 10 years. Why? Because the gold trend may increase. The problem with the mining companies is that they usually do not have the long term dimension of the mine in their plan. So to say, after 5 years of leaving the pit, we will come back. It's mostly become uncertain for them. Also because I would say technical capabilities, they don't have much technical capabilities to look at how that trend goes, or how do they accept risks. You remember in our previous adventure or talk, we talked about the long-term effect of some of these decisions. So they tend to mine, leave the pit, mostly flood it, they pump wastewater into it, flood it, and after, let's say, 10 years, they go back. But you see, the fallow period of leaving the mine unattended, or I would say inhabited, the community feels that part, they know historically, especially old workers, know historically that there are high grades of minerals there. So then they want to do their underground mining, small scale underground mining there. They know the grade. Previously, they used to go for the oxides, that's the surface minerals, where it's easily washable and treated. But now they have all the sophisticated um, technology, even a small scale, where they can just get the hard rock, also crush it and mill it and get the mineral of interest. So what they do is that when they see that your pit is left fallow for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and they have the informant information that this mine is not ready to go in there, then they want to begin to mine the pits, either from underground mining options. Mostly that's how it happens. So it's actually not the best because the land is not yours. The concession is for someone. So why do you intrude? But here is the whole thing. They feel like, yes, they don't have any business. That's also a good business that they've been doing. The concession they have, they've mined it out. They can expand to your area. So why not? They believe the company should relegate or give those portions of land to them so they can also mine it. But the company too believes that in future they may come back for that. So I always talk about resource depletion. The regulation had not, enforced a regulation on resource depletion where we say that you have as much as possible depleted all the resources within this zone. So we need to take it back. Two, do the companies also return a portion of the land to the states or to the government when they feel like they've exhausted what is there? It has never happened. I haven't heard of anything. But those are something that we can look into. So they mine, if they feel like they are not going back to the mine or to the pit or underground or the portion of mine out already extracted areas, they reclaim it. So most of the mining companies, they follow the International Council of Mining, yes, metallurgy, they have those big umbrella that also oversees their activities and they want to be in the good books because most of their investors even compels them that if we don't see some of these things, then we don't want to associate ourselves to that. So the mining companies have all these structures in place, ensuring that they do the right thing. So after mining, they go deep into conducting mine closure studies and reclamation remediation studies, ensuring that if it's a pit that they feel they don't need it, should we flood it and leave it as a fish farming or should we reclaim it? If it's a tailings dump, should we reclaim it? So most companies have been reclaiming and they mostly work with the community. And this is what, they work with the community. The community advises them that this is the kind of plant or farming that we want to turn the land into. And obviously they do. And so you tend to now observe that the regulator is enforcing the regulation that after mining, reclaim your pits or reclaim your mine. And the mining are conforming to that. The community are working together with them. So that's what happens in Ghana. And I've seen most of the mining companies reclaiming the land and showcasing a reclaimed area. And now they have oil palm trees and mangoes and other stuff growing there. Even some of the farmers, they plug it and they showcase it during mining celebration weeks here and there, or even the National Farming Celebration Week.
Is there any type of like illegal mining, let's say, that happens all the time when just people found it and they just steal some gold, something.
Yeah, yeah, no, the story or the issues about artisanal mining is a very complex, wicked problem,
Mm,
and the conversation on that takes time. But I'll try to narrow it down based on the direction we are trying to head. So usually, when we say artisanal, in the past they used to use handheld tools
mm,
to just grab some of these minerals from the ground. When we were young, when it rains, we could see gold spot nuggets here and there shining. Our fathers, grandfathers would tell us that those are gold and we will grab them. So anytime it rains, we go in there to grab them.
mhm,
You know, those were artisanal.
mhm,
Now, when we realized that every day we were grabbing from a particular spot, the miners or the inhabitants, community members were able to detect that. Even there are some trees that grow in those particular areas. They are all minerals, pathfinders and all those things leading to the raw minerals. So they tend to now know that when we see these kind of trees, blossoming in the area, then it means that this particular mineral deposit is there.
mhm,
They also got to know that we've always been moving in the northeast direction. So it means that the mineral is trending in the northeast. So if they are following here, then it will also appear on the same line, and
mhm,
they will also go for the mineral of interest or the gold. Now with development of technology, they tend to know that they were using much energy. Why should they use handheld shovels when they can use front-end excavators or back-end excavators? So they tend to know that, okay, now instead of putting it on a sluice board, why don't we have a trommel, a very big one, and feed it with large quantity of, oxides.
mhm,
Now, after mining all the oxides, they realize that why can't we crush? Because information is about, right? Why can't we crush the hard rock? Then that means that we have to blast. So where can we get explosives?
mhm,
Okay, I know someone who can sell out explosives. They buy it, and that begins, all this mining. Now you see that they have moved from artisanal mining to a different form that we don't even have a name for them. And it's illegal because they've not gone for the regulation. Some even go for the regulation and they will renew it.
mhm.
Some go
So
for the regulation.
it's almost like a self-taught
Yes,
mining engineers that didn't even didn't maybe even get the education of mining engineers to know exactly what to do, but
yes,
because of the stories and because of the observation that
yes,
their parents had, they just use the connections to do basically the mining, just
perfect.
do it
Yes,
illegally.
yes. And most of them too are smart. They can read.
Mhm,
Most of them too are old miners that have retired from the mines, 60 years old, 65,
mhm,
and they've trained those who have not sat in the classroom for classroom
mhm,
education. So there has been that transfer of knowledge, and in Africa, that has been our history. We won't write our knowledge in books, but we'll transfer it through songs, stories,
mhm,
and so we are mastery in that. You
mhm,
can't take it away from the African. So you see that now they begin to transform the business into a different area, different form that has no name. In the books, it
mhm,
has no name. So, but we will classify all of them as artisanal. But you see that they've advanced beyond artisanal, and they are even closer to the large scale mines because they have their trucks, they have their 40-ton truck, 20-ton trucks, and they are using it.
mhm,
You know, now they some might have registered it, the regulators know, they will renew it again. The regulators won't come around, even if they go. The mine operators, their security, they are strong, they may be chaotic, and so the regulators, representatives will like to be safe, retire back. You go with the military or the police, you worsen the case because they believe they are their own brothers. They knew them before they went to the force.
Mm.
And therefore, when they apply for, they also get something to, retaliate.
So it's
So
like
the whole thing,
handshake agreement basically between the
so
community.
something like that goes on, and some of these people too have got their investors,
Mm-hmm.
some are locally based investors, some too are foreign based investors. So what happens is that you may think they don't have money to pump water from the pit, but somebody is funding them, and therefore when they get a gold, the person is the first buyer. He has the buying rights, and he has agreed with them how much he's going to buy it. So if the market is 2,600, he has agreed I'm going to buy it at 1,500 because I gave you, I funded your capital and also funded your operation. So the worker receives very little, but it keeps them going. It's better than they stay in the house. That's what they say. And obviously, I agree with them, but because it was an artisanal, now they've transformed it into a different form. I don't want to say large scale or small scale because they've not registered. If you register, then you'll be given that name. So they transform into a different form. They still have that artisanal mindset that this is how we do it, or this is how we've been doing it. So even if it is an underground mine, they want to, you can increase the drive and comfortably walk, but that's capital intensive. They had not engaged mining professionals to tell them that the direction you are going is not the best.
Mm.
Why don't you go move into the left? You are rather moving
Or
to the
even
right.
like to make sure that it's like the borders are stable and stuff like that.
Exactly. They don't know the joints. They only know that, yes, they have ideas that, yes, there is a crack here which will appear on the other end. And therefore, they are supposed to make their drive, But obviously, the technology that we mining professionals have in our disposal to support our decision making, they don't have it. So they make the decision based on their experience and from their own perspective, which to me, it is, an artisanal form of different form of mining. I don't say large scale. So they don't get much value and they spend much energy, they spend much finances, money, and they get small. So are they also ready to look into that? No, because they believe that the mining professionals are very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
They can pay them. They are not, and they are. So the mining professionals are not, and they are expensive. This is what I mean by that. If I'm engaged with a large scale mining company,
Mm-hmm.
you know, famous one, I may be paid very high. If I'm a contractor for a mining company, my pay is very low. So how do we then manage it? I have got a lot of solutions that maybe in future we can discuss them, but the whole solution cannot be a one-sided solution. So they have their perception about the whole business and also the other side of the business. So they believe the mining professionals do not know. So even though they know they are expensive, they also know that the mining professionals don't know their work. They have that perception,
Why?
you
Why do
know,
they have this perception?
because they believe they've been doing artisanal mining for the last 10
Mm.
years, 15 years. The mining professional just finished school and has worked for 2 years or 4 years. So what does he know?
So it's
Right?
mostly like we have been practicing it, and they are just theoretical. They just offer theoretical knowledge. We don't need theoretical knowledge.
That is what they think. So sometimes they squeeze themselves through tunnels. And in my adventure in Wales, I got to know um, one of the mines in Wales, Great Ome Copper Mine. It was mined over 4,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, during some developments in Bangor area, then they discovered that while they were digging the foundation, they discovered that no, there were some excavations down there. So archaeologists came by to dig through the dirt that has covered the excavation. That's where they discovered their tools. They carbon dated some of them, and they realized some were 4,000 years old, some were 2,000. So they, based on their history, recognized that it could be that great Ome copper mine. So they have that tunnel. We went through, they've opened some, they use as a tourist attraction, and they have diagrams. And when you look at those things, you see that it is similar to the underground mining, style that our artisanal miners, that even some have registered themselves as small scale miners, how they are doing things. So I get understanding that it's the same old practice that didn't improve the system. That's what the miners are using. So if a miner does not go to work today, tomorrow he won't get money.
Mm-hmm.
So they go from hand to mouth. They
Yeah.
work, whatever they give them, they spend everything.
Mm-hmm.
You see, because they know that tomorrow they can still go there.
Yeah.
So
So they have zero
engaging,
stability, and it's like they need to feed the family now, and they just kind of think about that. Um,
yes,
Another question that I wanted to talk to you about is that how easy it is to, if you're like in from the college, and let's say you like let's say you finish university in Ghana, how easy it is to find a job there, and what would be your advice for people that want to basically follow your path and like find a job abroad? Because it's obviously they have to, when we talk about like finding job abroad, like whether it's United States or Canada or Europe, they have to basically compete with international talent, or it's kind of like a different scale. What would be your advice to young professionals from Ghana?
yes, it's a good question. I started by saying that previously people, mining professionals was not a program of choice. But these days is the top on the list. Everybody want to go there. So recent admission that the university did for only mining engineering, they have over 2,300 applicants. And therefore, if you don't have the best grade, you are not part of the 300 or 400 students that are being admitted. And that 400 students is even a large number. You can compare it with the developed countries. They have 8 people in their class, 15, 5. But we have 300, 200, 400 in the class. Why? Because people see it as now the program of choice. Now the challenge is, or the challenge that was there and is still existing and more complex now, is that the mining professionals are fighting for the space in the traditional mining companies or the large scale mining companies. I don't want to mention any mine here. Now you see that the mining companies can also employ but just a few. The initial challenge was during the global downturns, the economic downturns, where most mining companies did a lot of layoffs so they can meet the demand in gold and also the low, price of gold.
Mhm.
Most mining companies did not and have not filled those positions. So you still have one person doing multiple jobs, which was so before. And now when the gold price started increasing and still increasing, they've not failed them. Some few or some of them to that have failed them, they have the mines full to capacity. So you finish as a mining professional, your best bet is how many mining companies do you have in Ghana? The large scale mines will not be more than 15.
Mhm.
And if you are 400 students in a class, how many will get employed in the mine?
Mhm.
Now, the communities are also insisting that you must employ people from the community. So you have a mining engineer or a mining professional who doesn't come from the community, and he is not a favorite, even if he is the most intelligent person. He won't get employed by the company because the company want to engage. And we have areas where the company would decide to go off board, engage people who are not from the community, and the community will rise against them. That we know you have engaged these three people, you need to take them off. And I have a personal experience with some people when I was working in the mines in 2010.
Mhm.
Now, I always have issues about this. Some of the mining executives don't agree with me, but I always tell them that when you come to Greater Accra, where I grew up from, we also have the banking sectors and even the parliament there. So should the workers or should people that live, graduate from that region also come and say that we want you to employ us in the banking sectors in that area, you see? Or they go to parliament. So you see that
So they focus on equity, not on competence, basically. On like they want to.
that is it.
Yeah.
But the equity is a skewed form of equity. So it's only for those in the community, which I always disagree with them.
Mhm.
Yes. I will move on the other aspect, the gender issues, but that's also another issue. So when a mining professional, mining engineer or student graduates and he must move into industry, he is then relying on who does he know in the industry that will connect him to the right hiring manager. And sometimes you're a hiring manager, you are faced with a whole lot of, recommendation from your superiors, from your colleagues, trying to, get space. And the spot may be one or two, and you have about 100 for you to fill. So you tend to, mostly the mining professional, they leave it in the hands of the human resources. So in Africa, most of the hiring is done by the human resources, not the mining professional, which is different from the developed countries where the hiring manager is a technical person. So my advice to the mining graduates or the professionals that are coming up is that you need to firstly strategize and strategically position yourself as a global graduate. You need to be able to fit. You must position yourself as a global graduate. You should be able to fit in your locality. You should be able to function well in your country. You should be able to function well in other countries like Africa. You should be able to function well in developed countries. So you should be able to compete with a mining graduate from a developed country like Canada. So that when you are all competing for, let's say, a master's degree funding for education, you also be an option. So if you are only technically biased and not technologically biased, then you are being ruled out of the competition. Get your initial degree, but ensure that when Sierra Leone, Liberia, Congo, they need mining professionals and you get the opportunity, you can fit a role. So you leave the school, and if it's about mine optimization, you should be able to do mine optimization technically and technologically. If it's about drill and blast engineering, you should be able to function as a drill and blast engineer technically, that is in books,
Mm-hmm.
and technologically, that is using any tool. So the mining professional should position itself. You should also be business biased so that you can facilitate some business adventures even when you don't have a full scale job in the mines.
Mm-hmm.
You can support the banking industry that are providing funding to all these small scale mining companies, the large scale mining company. They need to vet their business plans, they need to vet their financial proposals, but they don't understand the mining business, but they understand the finances.
Mm-hmm.
You want to get in there. So the mining professional should be able to open his tentacles to be able to, you know, enter into every environment because the competition is so great that 400 students that are graduating in a year, the best graduating student has got scholarship from one of the mines in Ghana, and they will give him a 1 year's working job. Now he is safe or she is safe, but then you, second class upper or lower, you didn't fall into that category. Some mining companies will pick some people and train them as graduate trainee 2 years. They may like to take two from your class. You may not be an option. The regulator will take five. You may not be an option. So how do you then position yourself? We should be globally sensitive, know the trends that are moving on. You know, Cayman, your software is there. Get in touch with them so they could, train you. You can be a marketer or you can be an advocate, a mouthpiece for them in Ghana. You go around the mines, have good networks, join student organizations. I'm a patron on one of them, the Australasian Institute of Mining and Metallurgy, the Takwa chapter. I've been a patron since it was founded in 2014 or 2015. Yes. So be part of them. We organize, or most of them organize webinars, workshops. They bring mining professional, engage them, listen to the trends, listen to what they are saying. And, you know, the lecturers can give you that much, but you can also learn some few, get your soft skills ready. You know how to engage people. So when you finish and the mining industry rejects you, we know people that, so in Ghana, when you finish school, you are initially positioned as a national service personnel where they position you in any office or any institution. So what you must do is that you should um, be able to work in every institution that they position you, right? If the government is putting you, it's done by a body, an institution. If they position you in, let's say, going to teach in an elementary school
Mm-hmm.
and you are a graduate, I would prefer that you come to the university as a teaching assistant than going to teach in that elementary. But most of them don't have that smart level, excuse me to say that. Most of them, like, they just embrace that,
They go with the
elementary.
they go
They
with
go
the
with
flow.
the flow, you see. But our generation, the Gen Zs, they need to be strategic. Yes, yes.
And in terms of international market, I guess like when you actually looking for a job in like Canada or let's say Europe, how do you distinguish yourself from your competition? And I guess, is there any tricks that you know, let's say in resume? One of the things that I heard about is that they advise people to simplify their name because like some of the people from African countries, they have like very long name that is hard to perceive for let's say Canadians or Europeans. Is this Do you think there is any truth to it, or is it just like some individual cases? And is there any tricks that you can do in terms of your resume, in terms of your approach when you, let's say, you already worked in Ghana, but you want to actually find your spot on the international arena and, like, let's say, move to Canada or move to, I don't know, Europe, America, anything like that?
Yeah, if I understand it rightly, um, I would say that the first time when I got to Wales, I was representing my scholarship team in Wales or supporting one of the coordinators. And she said, she's from Jamaica. She said the first time she saw my name, she thought I was from China because I had Oppong in it. So yes, and also I've heard many comments from hiring managers and other staff how name affects their selection or their hiring process or their preferred candidates. Obviously, there's nothing that you can do about that if because you didn't give the name to yourself. But I know some people rebrand themselves, which is fine. And most or almost all hiring managers would always go to social media to set you up. So my first advice I give is how do I want to brand myself? If a hiring manager sees my profile on social media handles, the first place they will go is LinkedIn because it's the acclaimed professional site. Some even go as far as checking TikTok, Facebook, and they want to see what you are doing with your life. So as a mining professional, you want to be free, and sometimes the challenge is the hiring manager, you don't know what they are looking out for. Someone may be looking out for somebody who is socially vibing well with the, people around him. Some too want to be very studious or serious about the business. And so you need to package yourself. Your resume, these days, hiring managers don't review resumes. They allow AI to review it for them.
Mm,
So the AI has been instructed to look for some keywords. So you structure your resume based on the job advertisement. That's my first advice. And you see, it's very difficult to just say you are always or you're always fine tuning your resume to fit a particular job. Because if you don't have job and you are applying, I knew some of my mates from Wales. Someone told me he applied to over 120 jobs before she got a job.
mhm,
120 mean that she was keeping track. So if you are going to apply for even 10 jobs and you want to be reviewing your resume, that is work. So most professionals, graduates especially, will just throw in their resume. They have a standard one. They see the job, then they throw it there. They throw it into, so they don't get called for even the first stage of the interview. Why? Because AI will not even screen you as part of the preferred choice.
mhm,
Maybe you may be better than those that are being screened out, but your presentation on your resume has ruled you out of the game.
mhm,
So firstly, you need to look at your resume holistically, strategize it. Don't just use all the fancy styles that you hear or you know of, or you heard a colleague got a job by doing this. No, you have to skill or format your resume to conform to the requirement. Let me give an example. They are looking for a project engineer that is good in scheduling and also designing using AutoCAD. You
mhm,
can do all these things perfectly.
mhm,
You've done project engineering before. You should be able to pick the word in the advert into your resume because as soon as you upload your resume, it will be subjected into AI and it will pick all the keywords and rate you. I also know people who have been rated well by AI, and the hiring manager, one of the hiring managers I know, showed me the whole system and said, this guy, I know him from this particular mine. I'm not going to hire him because he's not good, even though AI is rating him number one. And that's advice to the hiring managers. Don't rely on technology, fully rely on technology. So I always like the abridged system. We also have some, sense of judgment.
Mhm.
So that's how I'll advise the fresh graduates. Yes, I know some people change their names with time, but then there are some jobs also in Africa that also they prefer the local content.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a common problem. Let's say even people with say China or even like from Poland, they also have like very long names that are very hard to pronounce to like Westerners. Like everything that is harder than John Smith is like kind of like hard, but yeah, I can see the challenge, and I guess everyone would decide for themselves how they want to approach it. Um, I'd
Yeah.
lastly just tell the audience what you do in the university in Ghana, how to find you, and how you can help, I guess, to Ghanaian um, fresh off the boat mining engineers.
Yes, yeah, thank you very much. So, as I said, Dr. Bright Oppong Afum is my name, and in Ghana, I'm all over the place, and I'm mostly teaching in the university as a senior lecturer in the mining engineering department. Over the years, I've taught several courses, including my favorite operation research and also my favorite drilling and blasting or explosives and mine optimization. So I've taught underground mine planning and design, surface mining systems, surface mine planning and design, drilling and blasting. I have taught the professionals which I like most is the explosive and blasting engineering. And also I've dealt with mine ventilation and mine dewatering. I've, I'm currently teaching operation research. I've consulted in the mines, mostly bringing mining and environment together. So I look at environmental impact prediction and modeling,
Mhm.
looking at the impact of blasting on structures. So I also do structural prediction and modeling. I do water modeling and stuff, atmospheric impact prediction like air blasts, dust, everything. I've also support mines in mine closure and reclamation and remediation in the past, and currently also supporting some mines in mine optimization studies and mine planning and strategy. And that's where I got to know. I always tell them, don't dump your low grade ore away. Yes, and in Canada, I support the Queen's University, their final year underground mine design, and it's a fantastic experience. So I do that alongside. Outside the classroom, I do a lot of professional training. I have the flagship of every quarter. I organize senior mining officials training. So the regulator, the Minerals Commission of Ghana, evaluates the mining professionals on their competencies so they can get to a blast man, become mining foreman or supervisor, you become a mine superintendent, you become a mine manager or plant manager or engineering superintendent. So from the superintendents up to manager level, we refer to them as senior mining officials. So every quarter I organize it for the mining professionals. I train them to know the regulation and also the technicalities and how to manage themselves and pass that exam. So this month, no, next month I'll be starting this quarter.
Mhm.
Yes, and also I do competency, um, produce reports, standard reports, the NI 43101. So I'm a
Mhm.
qualified person. I also do the um I I also help with the job code because I'm also a member and a chartered professional of the OZIM.
Mhm.
So the last one I did was with Burkina Faso mine. Yes, Bombori mine, and that's also a good experience. So in terms of the students, I will okay. If you want to find me, I'm on LinkedIn. You just type Bright Oppong Afum. I think the only name that will pop up. If you type all the three names, you get a name. Yeah, I used to be on Facebook, but I move out of Facebook because I have a lot of followers. Anytime I post a picture, a lot of comments, and sometimes they drag me a lot. So I've reduced my
Social
attention.
media.
Yes,
Social
social
media.
media, especially on Facebook. Yes, I've not tried TikTok, and because I don't want to be overwhelmed with a lot of contacts and stuff and funny
Okay.
stuff. Yeah, it's good though, but so yeah, that's what
So
I do.
LinkedIn.
Yes, yes, so LinkedIn is the
Wonderful.
best. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your insights. It was very interesting, and thank you for introducing me to mining in Ghana, and I learned a lot.
No, thank you very much, and I'm always happy to have a chat and let's educate the world together.